Hello, my friends. This is Heather. This is episode 114 of the Back to Me podcast. And today's episode is so interesting. I had so many questions, and the episode could have gone on and on. But in respect for your time, I didn't go on and on. So if you want more information about this one, definitely follow up. Today's episode was a chat with Biljana Hutchinson about plant based nutrition. But her reasoning for it is different than you think. And her approach is so different and refreshing. And oh my gosh, just so much great information. Have a listen. Let me know what you think and have an amazing day. Take care. Hi, my friends. Welcome. This is the Back to Me podcast, and this is Heather, and I am super excited that you're here. You are going to hear some tips and some tricks and some ideas to help you live your happiest and healthiest self. I call it Back to Me because when you are taking care of yourself, back to me, then you can take better care of others, and we can all make the world a better place. This is Wellness Your Way, and I am super happy that you're here. Hello, my friend. How are you? I hope you're having a fabulous day. This is Heather. This is the Back to Me podcast. This is another fabulous, amazing human being for our celebrity chat. And this week, oh my gosh, I'm not going to say your name right. Is Biljana?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, look at that. I did it. Biljana Hutchinson. And we are talking a lot of pretty awesome things today. And we're going to talk about nutrition, but also how nutrition can help you in more ways than you probably even realize. Welcome, Biljana. Thank you for staying up late and hanging out with us.
Hi, Heather. Thank you so much for having me. I was really looking forward to this. I was excited about talking to you because we had a wonderful chat, the initial chat, and I was really excited about this one today.
Yeah. I don't know if everybody knows that before I talk to all my celebrities, I always talk to them first. And sometimes we get into the chat we have first is like, ooh, we should have been recording this. But that's okay. You're not missing anything. It's all right. We'll make sure we fit everything in. So your plant, I love the name of your company. It's the Plant Camp.
Yeah.
So inventive. And as I ask everyone, it's going to be a very interesting story. I know it. How did you get into plant-based nutrition?
Okay. So you know how they say when one door closes, the other one opens. For me, that plant-based journey started at the back of my recovery from a trauma that I survived in 2010. I survived a terrorist attack in Afghanistan, and I went through a very long and complex physical and mental recovery because I was injured in the attack as well.
Wow.
And I mean, I went through therapy, obviously, and physical therapy, and then I had a very intensive psychotherapy for twice a week for about a little bit over 5 years. And because I lost two of my colleagues during that attack, five of us survived, 4 out of 5 of us were injured. It was a gruesome 6 hours of, yes, all sorts of things were happening. And during that recovery, in these types of therapies, we deal with certain things, but then the rest of it somehow, I don't know what is the plan, and if there is any plan, is it going to take care of it itself, or what's going to happen? But then once I finished psychotherapy, I understood what happened, and I understood all the emotions and all of the recovery process and steps and making sense of the whole thing. But then I had to handle everyday life. And along the way during my recovery, I also had two of my children. I got married. My husband and I moved countries. A lot of things were happening, but at the same time, I somehow simply couldn't handle daily life. And whatever, and also during that recovery process, my physical health started to suffer, and I developed all sorts of different conditions that, although I was on medications for them, things were not actually, happening the way they were supposed to. And some of these things were just the usual stuff like weight gain, and obviously that had a lot to do with my mental state after the attack. But then at one point, one of my friends recommended, well, there's this documentary, and I think you should really watch it because it's absolutely brilliant. And my friend is like a fitness, she had 25 years of being a fitness guru, and I said, okay, well, I'll watch it. And it was about plant-based nutrition and how it helped the author of the documentary cure some of his debilitating, health conditions. So I said, well, that really makes sense. And you know what? I'm going to try this for a month, just see if it's going to make any difference. And it did make difference. And it was only 30 days. And at the end of these 30 days, I thought, well, if this, what can happen in 30 days, maybe, what if I start looking into that and maybe change more things and see what happens then. So at the same time, I started making, practical changes in the way I eat, the way I um, sleep, the way I, just started making small changes. But at the same time, I enrolled in different courses, like in Cornell University about plant-based nutrition, and then cooking courses. And I just at the same time started doing practical things, but also researching and learning so much what actually is happening in our body when we change the way we eat. And after a year, I was a completely different person. During all these months of change, the things that were happening and the positive changes that I experienced were absolutely unbelievable. And I wondered, how come I never connected? And I know a lot of people don't do that. We just don't connect the way how it actually, what we eat affects our body. We just don't make the connection. And and then after a year, I thought, you know what? I know there are some other people out there who would absolutely benefit from what I did, what I learned over a year, what happened to me, and then also my story, because that change and transformation that I did with my lifestyle actually made massive, massive results and changes in my physical and mental health. And I just wanted to share that with other people.
Right. It's so interesting. You're right in so many ways that um, the there's when we're trying to heal something, it's like there's we can heal this part,
Mm.
or um, we can heal, we heal the body, but we can. So they'll take you through that part,
Yeah.
but then it's like, and then it's like, how do you feel the emotional side? But it doesn't. They don't always coordinate. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then how do you bring those pieces together
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that you get all the way to
Mm.
healing, like the whole person? So so what was the documentary? I'm curious.
The documentary, the first one that I watched was, I think his name is James Cox. He's an Australian, and the name of the documentary is Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead.
I don't think I know that one.
I think it's on. Well, it used to be on Netflix, and I watched it on Netflix. So I'm sure you can, if you search "Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead."
Okay.
Yeah, have a look. It's really interesting. I mean, the whole story. His whole story is pretty interesting, and he talks with some other people who experienced the same changes when they
Did you
when
watch Game Changers?
absolutely game changers. And I watched also Forks Over Knives. That's one of my favorite ones, and What the Health as well. Some really really good stuff on about plant-based
And
life.
how long after so first of all, I'm so sorry that you suffered through all of that. I mean, I can't even imagine. I I mean, it's like the difference between knowing and knowing. I I know that it would be traumatic, but I don't have a
Mm,
full understanding of what
mm,
that would be for someone or what would happen. And, um, it's happening. I mean, those things are happening continually, it seems, and I don't know what kind of supports are there for those people who come to the other side, and it's like, "What do I do?"
mm.
Um, and then how long after I guess, how long after the incident did you come to this nutritional kind of approach?
It was uh, about a little bit over 7 years after the attack.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had you had kind of come as far as you could, really.
Yes, because at that point I was in a state where my relationship, my relationship with my husband started to suffer. My relationship with my kids started to suffer. I was turning against myself. I wasn't uh, just. I was deeply, deeply unhappy, and I've always, all the time felt responsibility and survivor's guilt and the guilt of what happened because I was running the office. I was a regional director in that office, and all the decisions
Oh.
that were made had to have my signature. So in my head, I was responsible. Obviously, that's not the case because I didn't, attack my office. But in my head, it was just that link that it was very hard for me to break. And no matter how people would actually, and I went through that for years with my therapist, how what perspective and what way of talking to me, and getting me to come to the understanding of saying, but this is not my responsibility. I would always go home and say, but yes, it is. And I
Right,
just dwelled on that for such a long time, and it was, it plays with so many things, within us, with self-worth, and I mean, everything just falls apart, because we don't see ourselves that way. But the event that happened is, in my head, it's my responsibility. And, it just really, really shattered me. It really broke me down.
and probably part of you knows that those people all chose to be there,
Yeah.
and you logically know that it wasn't you.
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes. I mean, when I look at the situation, I mean, of course, it's not my responsibility, and we all take certain risks when we, get go and take over a job. It does come with it comes with a territory, but still, things simply were not supposed to happen.
Right,
Because it doesn't make sense. Everything that happened, it just doesn't make sense. um, because it is, violence is senseless,
right.
so why did it happen? And then, there's all that thing of my colleagues are not here anymore, and I am, and both of them were fathers, and I wasn't, a parent at the time. I was single. So why are they gone and I'm not? So all that just played constantly in my head.
Right, and then I'm curious, what was the first thing you noticed when or how did you decide
Mm.
to try, like, I know you watched the documentary,
Yeah.
but why did you think that would help you with with tr the trauma of it?
So I thought it wasn't directly the link between, when I watched the documentary, it wasn't direct. Oh, if I try this, it's going to help me with my trauma. But
Okay.
what happened was, during the documentary, he explains, like, roughly how things work in our body, and why certain things are happening, and how that, what the changes that he made, helped his health. So to me, what he was explaining made absolutely perfect sense. So I said, okay, and he was talking about juicing, right? So he had some green, super green juice. But I thought, I don't want to juice food, because I don't necessarily like juicing food, and I
Yeah.
don't need to do that. I like chewing. So I said, well, okay, that there's no way I'm going to juice the food, but I can try. And because he was talking about how animal products are actually harming our body, right? So I said, okay, well, let me try with not eating meat for a month. And because that was easy for me, we had a lot of vegetables anyway. So I can do that. And then after a month, I actually noticed that I have more energy.
Hmm.
I wake up better. I started sleeping better. And this is just within a month. I started sleeping better. And then in the morning when I woke up, I actually wasn't as puffy as I used to be. And I had more energy. I felt like, okay, I'm ready. I slept, I'm rested. I can get up. And my kids, which was quite important at the time, because our kids were about 4 and 5.5 at the time. So there's no really laying about with two small kids, and so so I was like, okay, I have to be ready, like now. so so these are the main three things that I noticed. I had more energy, and I was more ready in the morning to get up and get on with my day. And as I was experiencing that, I thought, oh my God, I feel so much better. So I actually want to carry on with this and see how much better I can, feel. What else can I do to actually, because I felt like things started finally moving in the direction I wanted them to move. Um, and I was not able to before.
Right.
And because I was also diagnosed with underactive thyroid, so I had every 6 months I had medical checkups. And the first checkup after these little changes that I made, I saw that my blood results improved, and that was the thing that was for me, wow. That was the real big wow. How did that happen? So then I started learning about thyroid and reading more about thyroid, and how what we eat actually impacts hormones, and balances the hormones. And somewhere along the way, I realized that by changing the way I eat, I actually started feeling like I have control again over
Mm.
my life.
Right.
And that was the click that I had, that I thought, this is helping me in more than just, physically. I understand now what was the link that was missing for me, and that is me having control over my life,
Right.
again. And that is what from then on, it was a conscious, my conscious, uh, everyday decisions. Right, this is working, and I feel so much better now. I know what I was missing, because I was completely lost, and I wanted to rebuild myself, but I didn't really know how. And what was missing was actually my sense of control, my sense of achievement, in a sense. And being able to taking control over what I eat, and seeing results, positive results, gave me back that sense of, aha, I'm back on track.
And making a change for something better and seeing a result, I guess, gives you that, okay, I do affect
Yes,
things.
yes, yes,
So, because if something comes in from nowhere and knocks you off of your sense of stable place,
mm,
It is hard to find your way back to that stable place, right?
Yeah, yeah. Because all of a sudden something threw you off, and you don't know where it came from. All of a sudden it was just there, and you kind of lost. Like, now what? And plus, whatever it was changes everything. Changes up your life is as the way you know it until that point is gone.
Right.
So yeah.
And I guess did you leave right away from
Yes,
Afghanistan? Yeah.
yes. I went for surgeries. I was evacuated from Afghanistan,
Oh,
and had
right.
surgeries, and then I just stayed away from the country. I never went back to that type of work anymore.
Oh, you left that work entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard when you're trying to do good in the world and this kind of thing happens. But then once you find your way out, you find there are other ways to do
Yes.
the
Yeah.
things you need to do. And this is something because I only have peripheral understanding of plant-based diets. Um, some lectures that I've heard, some things that I've seen, I haven't practiced it myself.
Mm.
I'm always curious because there are things I know that you can't get
Hmm.
from a fully plant-based diet. So that sometimes that feels to me like, well, then we weren't designed for that.
Hmm.
And I know you probably get this question, so I know you're probably going to give me an answer that it will help me understand.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I do get asked that question. One of the things, the main two things that we can't really get from plants is B12, vitamin B12, and vitamin D. Now, vitamin D is something that we can get from sun, or and we all pretty much know that. Now, it's the fact is, especially for us who live in northern part of northern hemisphere, vitamin D is in shortage anyway,
Yeah.
even in summertime, because we don't have enough sun. So supplementing it is the best way to ensure that we get what we need. But when we are talking about vitamin B12, I was told that before. Well, if we don't get vitamin B12, is generally what we get from um, animal-based products. But not because that was always the case.
Mm.
Because what happens, vitamin B12 is actually produced by bacteria that lives in soil. So we get it from animals, because they, for example, are grass fed, or they peg through the dirt. uh, we as humans used to eat not as clean food as it is now. So we would also pick it, or pull it from the ground, and eat it the way it was meant to be, freshest and whole foods. Now, these days, soil is slightly different, but also our food is much, much cleaner. So if we don't eat meat, like I, for example, I'm exclusively plant-based, then I have to supplement that. But the fact that we are not getting B12 is not because we are designed to eat animals, but we were used to eat food
We just brushed
directly
off the
from.
carrots and
Yeah, exactly, and potatoes and things. So yeah, that's how we got B12, but not anymore. you know.
right?
So that's
And
why it's also the best way, if somebody is either on a vegan diet or a exclusively plant-based diet, then supplementing it is important.
what's the difference between vegan and plant-based?
Mm. So the reasons, that's
Okay.
one thing, because vegan diet is obviously can be actually have or be based on ethical reasons. Plant-based diet is more focused on what we should be eating and what our diet is um, based on, while vegan diet is actually defined by what people don't eat. or
Oh,
don't use in their everyday life. And very often vegan also is not only based on food, but there are other elements in their lifestyle that they will, not use because there are some elements of animal-based
right,
products.
right. Like,
Also, vegan diet can be still quite unhealthy in some instances. But plant-based diet is, or whole foods plant-based diet, which is more accurate, which is what I do. Um, is for me, it's first based on my health and health of my family, and then there's health of this planet, and then animal welfare comes in as a bonus.
right.
Really, really important, and well, yeah.
And so B12 and D, those aren't the same things as amino acids. Or
Uh-huh. Yeah. Amino acids. So short chain amino acids, which is omega 3s, omega 6, and omega 9s. Omega 3s, yes, you're right. I'm guessing what you would like to say. Okay. So,
I
so
only know
omega
I know I know a few things about many
3.
things.
Yeah.
So I call in the experts when I'm super
That's
curious.
good. That's good. So omega 3s, also majority of us get omega 3s from oily fish, for
Oh,
example, from
yeah.
eggs, um, and from seafood. So, if we're talking about mainly or exclusively plant-based diet, then it is again important that we make sure that we get enough of omega 3s because they're important for our heart health and cardiovascular health, but also for our brain and for our cells. So, how we get it is there are four plants that provide us with omega 3s, and that is walnuts, hemp seeds, chia seeds, and flax seeds.
Oh, I like all
Nice.
those. It's good.
Yeah, and there you go. You're good to go then. Yeah.
Thank goodness.
By the end of this interview, you'll be converted.
Right? It's like how often do you get to get an expert to ask them all these questions and answer all these, because it's the internet is so full of
Yes.
information
Mm,
that may or may not be true, and lots of opinions,
mhm,
few facts, lots of opinions. So I'm always curious
mm.
and to learn as much as I can about everything because I'm curious about everything. That's why I love my celebrity chats so much
That's good. Yeah,
because
yeah.
I can bring those people in. And how long have you been doing this now? Like you started it.
So I've been with my family, plant-based. mm, I think about early March 2018.
Wow.
And then I started, I know it's coming to 6 years now. Wow. Um, and I started coaching in December 2019.
When you realized this is something you needed to share with the world,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And how hard was it to convert your family?
And it was actually quite easy. My husband is my biggest supporter. So that is amazing, and really, we're halfway there. So when I told him about this documentary, then we started watching together a couple of others. He said, "You know what? We're gonna start. I'm gonna join you. We're gonna start this definitely." And because our kids were small, and obviously we just had everything just pretty much just like everyone else. So with the kids it was challenging, and with them it lasted longer because our idea was not to force anything or impose anything on them because that could just backfire.
Yeah.
So we spent endless hours and meals of talking and explaining and finding different approaches because we didn't, again, this is the tricky part. We didn't want them to think that, I don't know, there's like bad foods and good foods and this or that because people, their friends and families that they go to will be eating these foods. So our approach was to explain what certain foods do to our body, like how
Right.
we actually react to that. And but not all, not at once, not all the time. It takes a longer time for that, but maybe if we eat this is going to be better. And now we're all exclusively plant-based. With our kids, it took about probably around 6 or 7 months to get them fully into that.
And when they do go out, I guess, what do they do? Do their friends ask them
Yeah,
questions?
be,
And
because most of the friends that most of their friends, most of the families that we hang out with, they know that we are plant based. So, it, which I also find very. We're really grateful for that. They would also always ask us if our kids are going to their house. What are we going to, what should we prepare to eat, or what are we going to? And very often we would bring something with us just to make it easier for them.
Mhm.
Um, but if they go, I mean, we're not strict. We don't tell them you must not eat this or that. If they're out and they're eating, their friends are eating pizza, then they can just eat pizza, whatever pizza it is, And but another thing about our kids is they kind of adopted that completely. So they would always say, I will just eat something that we would usually eat at home. So they would find a plant-based option or sometimes a vegan option, and then go for that.
And it's interesting if you eat in a certain way all the time and you feel good,
Mm.
and then you think, "Oh, okay, well, there's nothing else. I'll have this piece of pizza." You probably don't feel very good afterwards.
That yeah. Well, depends how big that piece of pizza is. But another thing is it's if we are sometimes it's just when we go out with friends, when there are celebrations, when we go for weddings, birthday parties, sometimes options will not be there,
Yeah.
but what I teach, I don't want to really use that word, but what I promote is first of all enjoy, because we are there to spend time with our friends and and have good time and enjoy ourselves. And whatever we do, that one meal or that one time is not going to make a big difference to our health. Maybe we will have a little bit of indigestion, but not necessarily. But tomorrow or the next meal, we're just going to go back to what we were doing before, and that's going to be absolutely fine.
And
you know
people do beat themselves up for one little,
yes.
even even people who are just, even just on a diet of any kind. It's like, "Oh,
Oh yeah.
I didn't do it right this day." They so
Yes,
hard on
exactly.
themselves.
Exactly. And also another thing that also I notice happens is, well, what's the point? I messed up this day. Well, what's the point that I'm going to do the same the next day? But really, this is really one of the big parts of what I do with my clients. It is accepting that whatever change we are introducing, it's not going to be linear. It's going to have
Right.
its ups and downs. We're humans. We have good days and we have bad days. And no matter what we see, and sometimes it's just not possible, and there's absolutely no reason to beat ourselves about it and feel guilty or feel any kind of negative emotion. It's just the way it is. And we move on. So the next time or the next meal is just going to be the one that we actually want. And that's it. That's the best we can do.
Yeah, and I can see, like, having a, because I know you have a membership, and I think when you're I think about, all the weight loss type.
Mm,
I know that's not what this is for,
yeah.
but, it's like, their success is in trying to help someone understand a new way of eating. Because if it's something totally new, and I can remember going to a doctor once and she said, "You just need to lose weight." And then that was the end of my appointment. And I thought,
Mm,
but how do I, what? I don't understand. Like,
yeah.
I don't, like, there was no education. So
Yeah.
when you're trying to change something, like, I like how you said, you just did it a little bit at a time, which is the only way to really, I think, sustain
Yes.
something. But
Yeah.
it's also, you're relearning. It's like, if
Yeah.
your regular habit is, okay, it's chicken night, it's like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I'm going to starve to death.
Yes.
I can't have chicken. What can I eat? Oh my God, all I can eat is this carrot. I'm going to die.
Yeah.
This is what goes through my head.
but that is that you're absolutely right. And this is what I think the main reason, or one of the reasons why diets don't succeed, because there's always that restriction, but there's no education behind it.
Right.
So we have, okay, you cannot eat whatever diet it is, it doesn't matter. Just for an example, if it is a low carb and high fat, or the other way around, there's so many out there. So, there's no really explanation, or if there is explanation, there's no sustainable habit change.
Right.
Because just as you said, it's relearning. So we need to, if we stop doing one thing, we have to, something is going to be compensating for it. And as soon as the diet cycle stops, we're going to go back unless we replace that with a new habit, or
Yeah.
with the knowledge why we are doing things.
And there is emotions tied up in that. I talked to a woman who wrote a book called
Mm,
You Can't Eat Love.
mm,
And now hers was relating to the fact that she noticed that this particular pie was tied up in the emotions of her mother who had passed away. So it was like she realized that, food came
mm,
with emotions attached to it.
mhm.
So I could see lo this could go so many places, like,
Absolutely.
right? It's like, but, roast beef dinner is what I ate with my grandmother. I that
Yeah,
would be disrespecting the memory of my grandmother, and so there's that untangling that aspect
yeah,
of it, and untangling the education aspect of it, and finding new habits and
yeah.
new ways, and wow, no wonder you
It,
have to have a membership program.
but I've really loved it. I always loved food. I'm originally Serbian, and the culture in Serbia, or in the whole Balkans, we love to eat. We love our food, and food is always a place to gather and enjoy, and talk and exchange, and really it's a happy place. So I completely understand, and I love that about food, because food is it's like music or like sport. It's something that brings people together, and it's absolutely amazing. So it's so many things. It's life, it's memories, it's happy memories, it's time travel, it's so many beautiful things. And it's one of my favorite things to, when I go somewhere, when I travel to a new place, to eat street food.
Oh,
um
yes.
that Yeah, that is my, and then you learn so much about that culture, you experience it in a completely different way. So that's why it's important. That's another reason why, when I talk about plant-based, it's not about, you must never eat,
Mm,
animal-based products again, because that's not, first of all, it's not how things work. Second of all, it's the approach that's not gonna give any long-term results. But there's a way to still keep and preserve these memories and warm feelings without actually eliminating them, but still, adopting new habits, and embark on a completely new journey that is going to bring us somewhere else where we didn't really expect.
right. So amazing. Yeah. And I guess, like, just learning it's like learning a whole new vocabulary
Mm.
and being patient with yourself.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Being patient and being full of grace, being very kind to ourselves.
Right. And how does your membership work? Just because I wanna make sure we share that with people.
Yep. Um, so my membership is on a month-to-month basis. I have mainly four. I have one workshop a week, and there are four areas, so to speak, covered. One is, we talk 1 week, we talk about nutrition, how things work with different foods. The other one is cooking. We have some either cook alongs, or I cook something. Yeah, it's quite a lot of fun. Um, any meal that people either want to, or just something that I cook at home and then I want to share. And then along the cooking, we talk about, again, food, how to replace certain things, if people are gluten free or have any allergies.
Right.
The third one is some expert guest, for example, or one of my clients will come and we'll talk about the changes, the effects. And then the last week we talk about certain parts of other parts of our life that contribute to our health and play together with food. So either sleep management or stress management or creativity that is very important when we're talking about recovering from trauma, or just getting in touch back with ourselves because we forget that part, because life gets in the way. Habit change, longevity, skin health, things like that.
Amazing. And yes, I mean, having resources to help you when you're trying to find a just to make any change in your life, right? Having resources and support is so helpful. So I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
see,
yeah.
yeah, and I can see where people would just stay.
Well, yeah, we do like to, when we, I mean, we like to be part of. We like to be heard and understood, and also know that we're not alone. I mean, when
Right.
I started, change, and when we started transition, I didn't know. I had to go through so many websites and look for recipes, and then, I found the recipe, and then halfway through the recipe, oh, now what I do? What do I do with this thing? And then I didn't. I mean, so many things I didn't know, and it took me so much, such a long time to to get organized and be able to plan and know exactly what I'm going to do and how to fill out my plate and what replaces what. So knowing that there are other people in the same group who are going through the same challenges makes things easier.
And has someone you have someone to talk to, like,
Yeah.
I need to get this, or yeah, I just think of the number of vegetables that I don't know how
Yeah.
to cook, but, also it's like, "I need a little more protein. What can I throw
Yeah.
in here?" And, you know?
Yeah. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
true, so true. And I found it interesting in, the one that I have watched was oh my god, just went out of my head.
Game changer.
Game Changers. That's it. That's one I have watched. And, um, that strong man.
Mm.
We think of these big muscular people drinking, 7 raw eggs to get their
Yes.
protein, but he was a very strong man for a man who doesn't eat meat.
Mm.
So it can be done.
It can be done. Yes.
Do you
Yeah.
find that there's people who don't feel well on it?
At the beginning, I found some people that uh, didn't at the beginning experience some headaches, for example, also some bloating and some digestive issues, and this all comes down to. And I also, now that you mentioned it, I also heard about, and you probably have, about celebrities, for example, who were vegan for some time, then were not feeling well, and then went back to eating everything. This comes down to two things. One is doing things gradually, and the second one is doing actually things planned. So knowing what we're doing, because it's not just taking away certain things off our plate. We need to know how to replace, and compensate for the things that. So, for example, calorically, we need to understand that if we're eating plant-based meals, they have to be bigger
Right.
because they have to actually be bigger. We need to start eating more because plants are calorically much less dense. They're nutrient dense, but have less calories than, for example, meat or dairy. So if for us to replace, to be able to actually eat as many calories as we need for our body, we need to eat more. um, and that is something that a lot of people, in my experience, don't actually do, and then start, feeling dizzy, for example, or
They
have
still
less
have that,
energy.
restriction thought.
Yes,
If you've
yes,
been if you've
yes,
been on the diet cycle, it's always restrict, restrict, and
yes,
the idea of eating more
Yes.
just that's just crazy talk. Right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember actually you just reminded me probably 10 years ago, when the raw food craze was all the thing.
Mhm.
I didn't plan very well and I just went 100%.
Yeah.
And it didn't last very long because I my body did not handle that transition very well. It's like,
No.
oh,
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because also that's another reason. Like plants are fiber, are sources of fiber, which we don't have in meat and dairy. So once we start, especially if we go all in, and if we didn't eat a lot of fiber before, that's when we are going to experience a lot of bloating, some cramps, a lot of indigestion, because all of a sudden our bodies has to start to deal with something that it hasn't before. So that our gut microbiome needs to build up, and for that, it takes some time for our lovely bacteria to be able to digest everything that
right.
they're
Yeah,
bringing.
I definitely could have benefited from guidance during that little stint.
Yeah.
You live and learn.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So, oh my gosh, there's so much good information here. And I want people to definitely connect with you
Mm.
because it is so true. I mean, I've talked to nutritionists and nutritional therapists who talk so much about gut health. Gut health
Yeah.
is how you will affect so many of
Yes.
all of the systems of your
Yeah.
body. So of course it's going to help you. I mean, in ways that you can't even imagine,
Yes.
right? So if you were going to give a final word of wisdom to the listeners, what would your final thought be?
There's something that I was told um, right after the attack that I um, went through back in 2010, and that helped a lot in my recovery, but also in transition to a plant-based lifestyle, and that is day by day. So take one day at a time and just live through it. See what you can do in that one day.
That is perfect advice for everything in life, right?
Yeah. We
Everything.
overthink so many things, don't we?
Yes, we definitely do.
Yeah.
I'm definitely guilty of that one.
Yeah.
So, I'm writing that down. That's gonna hang up on my wall
Yeah,
day
yeah,
by
it
day,
became my mantra. Yeah, yeah.
right?
Day by day.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing all of this information. Thank you for answering all of my questions. I'm sure everybody else would have had the same questions as I
Yeah, yeah,
did, right?
yeah.
And thank you for staying up late and hanging out. My friends, definitely connect, definitely investigate on how just changing a few things in your life can make you
Mm.
feel so much better, right? Um, you can connect with Plant Camp. I can never remember whether it's above, below, or sideways. Somewhere in the show notes, you will find how to connect. And maybe, who knows, you'll start to feel even better than you are now.
Yeah.
And if you do try it, send me a message, send me some comments, because I'm always really excited to hear how people are doing.
Oh, Heather, thank you so much for having me. I loved absolutely
Thank
loved our
you.
conversation.
Thank you so much. Take care.
You
See
too.
you.
Bye.
Bye bye. Hi, my friend. Thanks so much for listening to this entire podcast. If you found it useful and you're like me and you like helping others, please feel free to share this. Give it a like, give it a comment. If you found something useful in it, there's a chance that someone else will find something useful as well. Also, if you have any questions at all, I can absolutely help and I would love to help. You can email me at heather@prosperityflowcoaching.com. If you want more of this awesome content, you can follow me on Instagram, Heather Stewart Coaching. You can follow me on Facebook, Prosperity Flow Coaching. And I have a personal request. I want to help as many people as I can with these podcasts. And if you could give me a review, hopefully a good one, if you could share, if you could send this out into the world, I would truly appreciate it. I hope you have an amazing day, and I hope that you find your way to wellness by getting back to me. Take care, my friend.